Crack in Time was such an effective conclusion to the series, a lot of people wondered where Ratchet & Clank can go from here. Well, how about comic books and toys? Yep, in 2010, Ratchet & Clank appeared in a 6-part comic book series, set right after A Crack in Time.
They also released these amazingly detailed action figures, which captured the style of the games perfectly. Of course, they did a smuggler figure, which was a bit weird. I mean, like, why the smuggler? Like, why not Tywin or Kronk or Zephyr or
Lawrence.
Or Lawrence or half the other characters, like the more interesting characters.
Or how about a bigger figure of Captain Slag?
Yeah. Wait, what?
PlayStation Move Heroes 2011. For some reason, my favorite characters always end up crossing over with each other. Mario and Sonic did it, Spyro and Crash did it. Sadly, they all sucked, and unfortunately, this crossover with Ratchet, Jack, and Sly sucked too, because it was, once again, another cheap party game, using the underwhelming Move controller.
Basically, the plot involves the heroes getting dragged into another world and forced to take part in silly challenges. It was terrible. The only redeeming factor of this game, however, was that it featured the original voice actors and the cutscenes that were slightly, and I use the word loosely, slightly entertaining.
Like
what?
Which one?
No, we're not doing any more metaphors or similes.
I wasn't.
Oh.
Ratchet & Clank All Blue 2011.
Out of the blue, Insomniac continued the Ratchet franchise and released this 4-player co-op adventure. Although it seems to take place after A Crack in Time, it is said to have no connection to the future trilogy and is nothing more than a spin-off.
We see Ratchet Clank, Captain Birdseye, and Dr. Nefarious team up to stop a new, bigger threat. Sadly, the plot was pretty weak for Ratchet game, and its gameplay was quite different to previous entries, leading to mixed reception from the fanbase.
Overall, it got mixed reviews, with some feeling it should have been a downloadable title, and some moaning at its more kid-friendly tone, glitches, and easy puzzles.
The Ratchet & Clank Trilogy 2012. Like most franchises, the original PS2 trilogy got a HD makeover for the PlayStation 3, and also for the Vita snack bar. All three had a fixed frame rate of 60 frames per second. 3D support and the online play from Ratchet 3 was brought back in action for use on the PSN. It was also released because it was the 10th anniversary of Ratchet & Clank. Whew, 10 years. How time is quick.
PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2012. Sony eventually decided to use the Smash Bros. Idea and create their own Super Smash Bros. But sadly, it wasn't super. Ratchet and Clank were playable characters in the Sony stuffed brawler, seen duking it out alongside other famous faces like Parappa the Rapper and Snoopy the Cat. Sadly, the game was a disappointing mess, feeling tacky, cheap, and unfinished. And so, Ratchet had another crossover that flopped like a fish in a China market. At least it was still better than PlayStation Heroes.
Ratchet & Clank QForce 2012. And so the anniversary continues with QForce, or as it's called in US, Full Frontal Assault. To be honest, I prefer QForce.
The game sees Captain Haddock bored out of his mind until a strange transmission is sent to them from an enemy of Haddock's, a villain whose identity reveal becomes a silly surprise.
It returned to the classic Ratchet & Clank gameplay, but mixed it with the tower defense style touches, as you protected your base from enemies. It featured co-op, which was nice, but sadly the game was just a little underwhelming and many found it to be disappointing. But I guess Insomniac were too busy on Fuse. Yeah, remember that game?
I didn't remember it till we started writing this. PlayStation All-Stars Island 2013. This was a free-to-play minigame collection based off PlayStation All-Stars. It was only released in Europe for the iOS as part of a cross-promotion with Coke Zero. It only featured cameos from Ratchet & Clank, while Drake, Cat, Sackboy, and that infamous guy took the leads.
Ratchet & Clank Nexus 2013. And here we are, the final installment of the Future series. Taking place after A Crack in Time, it saw Ratchet & Clank escorting a criminal named Vander Prague to a detention center, only for things to go AWOL when her brother breaks her free and she kills Kronk and Zephyr. Sad times.
It went back to the series' core basics, introducing new weapons, new 2D Clank sections, a new jetpack system, and of course, new characters. It was short but satisfying, although some fans were like, no, this is a terrible conclusion, I hate it. But overall it received mostly positive reviews.
Ratchet & Clank Before the Nexus 2013. A mobile-based game was released alongside the console game, taking place before Into the Nexus. It was pretty much an endless runner where players collected bolts and defeated enemies, as well upgraded the weapons using raritanium. It did okay, I think. Ratchet & Clank 2016. As a kid growing up with the series, I always thought, these games feel like movies, man. I would love a Ratchet film, man. And so, it seems it's happening. That's right, Ratchet & Clank are set to make a big screen debut in their first CGI feature film, which is to retell the story of the first game. I'm quite hyped because the style and animation looks exactly like the video games, which gives it a huge potential to be the best video game movie adaptation ever to grace the cinema screen.
On top of that, since Insomniac are having a hand on it and it features the main voice cast from the games, what could go wrong? Well, how about casting Paul Giamatti as Chairman Drake? Oh no! It is set for a cinema release in April 2016. That's in time of your birthday.
Shh. Ratchet & Clank 2016. And as usual with movies, they get a game tie-in, which is weird seeing how this film is based on a game and this game tie-in is based on the film. This is actually the first since most developers don't work on their game adaptations based on the film, so once again, this is huge potential.
So far, from what we've seen from videos and heard from previews, it's got overwhelming praise, being considered the first interactive Pixar film. It also seems like the PS4 is finally getting some real show-stopping games, even if it is just a remake / reimagining.
So, looking back through Ratchet Clank's history, it's been a thrill ride. There's been a few duds such as QForce and Awful 1, but truth be told, they haven't been horrible enough to ruin the series as a whole.
The future looks bright for Ratchet & Clank, with their film and new game going back to its roots, and it seems like there's nothing but sugar, spice, and everything nice coming their way.
Unlike a certain space exploration game from Nintendo. That's something else.
Yes, Brian. Yes, it is.